Hi everyone, I'm Ash, your D-Class hero.
I'm Card Dreamer, your D-Class villain.
And I'm Dan, the random of the most random.
Who we appreciate.
True. So today our special guest for this our Let's Discuss today is Dan from Indie Drop, another fellow YouTuber with an amazing indie focus channel, which I will put a link to the description and below.
Yeah, so I do a bunch of indie stuff. I don't know if you guys want me to just kind of like briefly...
Yeah, let everybody
by
know
all
who you
means.
are. This is your first time on D-Class and probably your last because you'll be too good for us.
I doubt it. It's fun to do this sort of thing with people, so... but anyway, yeah, the Indie Drop is just a little channel I threw together to basically focus on indie games, and Kickstarters and all that kind of jazz, I guess you could say, news-wise, and... I felt like there wasn't really much of that going on, and so I kind of took it upon myself to try it out and see if there's a potential community behind it, and so you guys kind of came along and we all talk about indie games on the Discord over there, so... But yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey,
Absolutely, and there's most certainly an indie fan base out there.
There really is, and the sad part
It's
is I
blown
don't
up.
think anyone's ever focused it like Dan does, so that's good.
Yeah.
So today's discussion was one that started between Dan and I, and we thought it was just really fun. And it just was building. So we're like, okay, let's stop. We'll have this a discussion video topic, and the gist of it is: does Nintendo listen to its consumer/fan base?
And to be fair, it doesn't really seem like it.
I
You don't
want
think
to
so?
argue they don't, but this is what made it fun. Dan says, or has optimistic views.
I have so many of them, and yeah, like, you and I went back and forth about how we felt about the support that they have for their fans and such, and yeah, I mean, I am super optimistic. I grew up playing some Nintendo games, like, I think the first Nintendo, well, I can't really call it a console, I received a Game Boy Color growing up, so I haven't really played much of the NES, I haven't played much of the SNES, yeah, and sue me for really enjoying what Nintendo has to offer nowadays, but I really love what they put out. A lot of their games have that seal of, this is a good quality game. And so that's why I kind of am optimistic and want to see Nintendo do really well. Though a lot of other people don't agree with me, I see potential with what Nintendo can do, and I think that it's just kind of a big marketing strategy. I don't know if that's what you feel. I know how you feel in some ways, and I'll let you explain it yourself, I guess, but...
Well, you know how I feel about Labo, but that's another let's discuss.
Yeah, Labo, yeah. We could definitely get on...
Just wait till we get to this part, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Yeah, right.
It's gonna be great.
Well, I feel like we're on the same page, but we're kind of coming at it from two different angles.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I don't like their games. So, I grew up with the original Nintendo. I started with it in '86.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had every Nintendo since then. Every Nintendo.
So what you're telling me is you're super old.
I'm super cultured in retro. That's what I'm telling you.
Well played, sir.
Thank you. So, I mean, I love Nintendo's games. I love I loved their products.
And what makes you hate their products so much now?
It's not. They have good in everything they do, but like you, I see their potential. But I feel like they refuse to live up to it. I feel like they get the hype out there for the gimmick, and then once you bought into it, they're done.
Mm-hmm.
I want to point out right now, Nintendo Wii. Motion sensor had a lot of potential. Let's see, they didn't use it for any of the sport games at all. But they could have used it for, like, Mario Tennis, Mario Baseball, Super Slugger, games like that. I would have loved a more first-person shooter. The closest thing we had was Metroid Prime 3, Corruption, one of my favorite games. And the motion sensors actually work really great there, but it was kind of wonky in certain parts.
They also
And I
had
kinda want to see them
Link's
more with
crossbow
that.
training.
That's true, also, yes. Skyward Sword's another one, but that one
Mhm.
got a lot of flack.
Yeah.
I would argue Dead Space is a great example of an on-rail shooter done right on the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that the problem is having been with Nintendo for so long from day one, is you can see where they started declining, and that was as far as I shouldn't say declining. Let me rephrase this. The problem is Nintendo didn't have competitors until in the future. The
That's
Super
true.
Nintendo era is when they first started having competitors, and the biggest leap forward in technology was going from 8-bit to 16-bit. So there isn't going to be a huge diversity. It's just a matter of the games and the controllers, and that was about it. And so Nintendo couldn't break a traditional mold on that front. So it was easy to stay a Nintendo fanboy, or if you went the Sega Genesis route, and that's cool. But it's when you got into the Nintendo 64 with the invention of CDs and DVDs, when you had PlayStation 1 come out, and they refused to go to the CD route, even though technologically wise, it was the more advanced system. It would allow them to do more. And then you had GameCube, like, oh yeah, we learned we're going to go disc. And then they didn't even use full discs. They used the mini discs.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we did get some really good games there, but
I will never knock a Nintendo for doing a bad game per se. Nintendo does know how to do games to this day. I will never argue that.
I can agree with that.
Except
What
for
do you think,
Pokemon
man?
Go, right?
Say that again?
I said except for Pokemon Go, right?
Oh, that one hurts.
Oh,
That had
I
a
knew,
lot of
I
potential.
knew it. I knew it.
Technically, that's not a first-person Nintendo,
No.
is it?
No, it's not. That's
No.
mostly Pokemon itself. I think Nintendo only has
No.
like 4%.
I think
or something
Pokemon
like that.
Go, when they did their first live event, when they did that big gathering, and I forget what city it was, and it
Chicago.
Yeah, and that turned out to be such an epic fail.
Yeah, it was really
I
bad.
love. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh yeah, I was just going on about the Chicago event and how poorly they handled that, and I thought it was just silly. So that was totally on Niantic and Pokemon though. That wasn't Nintendo.
No. And
Right.
honestly, if they went for more a classic Game Boy Advance art style for your avatar, I kind of would have appreciated more.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Like,
Yeah.
make the roads like the little pathways you have for, like, Viridian City, all that stuff. The fences for areas you can't go to.
But then you would have heard, how much can they add overlay-wise before they might as well just program the whole new game?
Quite honestly, they should. That's just my opinion, though.
I agree. I didn't like the overly cartoony look superimposed on what was supposed to be the world around me.
I didn't mind it.
It bugged me. I would have liked to have seen somewhat of a more realistic version of the Pokemon to help. If the illusion was meant to make you feel like you're the Pokemon trainer and you're catching these Pokemon, and you're showing me these bright CGI cartoony looking things, it throws me out of that.
Right.
It can, yeah. But so like getting on track though too with the whole Nintendo listening to us kind of thing with Pokemon Go, that general idea is something that people have wanted for a long time. Something that we've talked about saying like, wouldn't it be really cool for us to go out and catch Pokemon and do something like that? And so it took the Pokemon Company, who was technically owned, you could say, by Nintendo, to finally do that. So that's one of the things that they listened to us after all these years about.
I was throwing balls at at animals and people though long before Nintendo made it a game. I just got in trouble for it.
You were a trouble child, weren't
Well,
you?
people got in trouble for Pokemon Go though too.
This is true. See, nothing
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, they did listen to fans when they made Pokemon Go because they want that kind of experience in real life.
Right.
This is probably the closest thing we're going to get to it, but it still needs work.
I feel like they
beyond.
can listen to people when it comes to when it comes to the games. It's when it comes to the technology they refuse to listen and grow.
That I will agree with.
Okay.
What do you
okay.
think, Dan?
Hold on. Here's an example of how they listen to us, though, and this isn't too big of an example, but I did write this down mainly because it made a lot of people chuckle, I think. So the NES Classic came out with like a 2-foot cord, and everybody was like, "No, we want more." The SNES came out with like a 5-foot cord. They listened to us.
Now instead of going blind in 3 days sitting up against your TV, you'll go blind in 10 because you had that couple extra feet.
Exactly. See, right there. There's an example of tech.
But leave it to the third party people to actually have to come up with the wireless dongles. Or see, here's what doesn't make sense. Like if you were to buy their wired controllers for the Switch, and I remember showing the picture of it in Discord a long time ago when we were talking about this. The cord is so freaking long, and it just unplugs from the controller when you're done, so you don't have to worry about tripping on it, or you could put it away for easiness. And they could have easily done that with this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. They listen, but only in. They may have listened to the letter of the law, but they just did a middle finger to the spirit.
So,
No.
I want to
Like,
take a moment and, I'm sorry, you were saying, Dan?
No, go ahead.
So, I want to go back to Nintendo's online store practices, their online service and all that. They seem to be offering a bunch of classic games, which is great for anyone not like me and you who grew up with like the Super NES and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like early 90s. It's great for them because they want to get the opportunity to play it. But like if you want to play with people online, you gotta pay for the service. And the one thing that irks me the most, the phone app.
I'm gonna be the nice, and I will let Dan go first because I'm sure he's got.
For once, I do agree with you though on the phone app thing. That was kind of stupid in a lot of different ways. I know why they did it, but
Because their technology isn't designed to handle real online, so they're alleviating the burden on the system.
right, and there are so many perks to having it on your phone in comparison to on your Switch. I mean, if you have that running on the Switch on the go, it's probably going to take more battery. And when you're playing Splatoon 2, which is pretty graphically intensive, it's going to suck up a lot of battery. So, I mean, that's one example, I guess you could say, is why they did the phone app, for one. And two, your phone is already with you, always with you, and there's a handful of games that give you, like, points and rewards and such to use for the Switch. I guess... What are some things that you can actually get? I know there's like gold points and such that you can get to redeem. Like the cover art. I got cover art for.
I like the gold
Octopath
point
Traveler.
system
I won't argue the gold parts. That's fine.
because I feel like you accumulate a lot of that fast.
Yeah, when the No brought us, we watched a video by the No that kind of summarized everything by about the online, and they kind of made a comment I disagree with. Like they said it was like 2,000 gold coins, and that would pay for a year if you're online. And they're like, he made the comment, it's like, well, it's $400 if you want to spend that on games. I'm like, well, when they're $60 a pop, that's not that many games.
No, it's really not.
But
If I can do math, that's like maybe 6 to 8 games, depending on the price.
not even 8, I think it's 5 to 6.
Yeah.
Full price games.
Right. I would do it based off their like varying in price.
And that's if you do digitally over physical, because physical
Exactly.
costs like, I think they only give you like what, a third of the points for physical.
60. No, what do I have? I think I have 60 points total, so I get like 20 gold coins a physical.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's significantly less, though, I know for a fact, for physical than it is digital. But so what are some like other things that you feel Nintendo doesn't necessarily listen?
Well, I want to throw out a counter argument to your phone. You said you
Okay,
understood and that was a good thing. You think there's perks, but here's where I'm disagreeing based on that same.
This is gonna be good.
Oh, thanks. Same thing. So if you're in a situation on the go where you can not only play your Switch, but juggle your phone as well, then you're not really on the go. You're sitting somewhere squatting, and you're plugged in with one of the two devices. So if you can do that, it's a moot point because you're plugged in, and battery life won't matter.
I'm gonna argue this. So, depending on how their phone app works, for all we know, you can just plug in earbuds. And that way you
Yeah.
can just have it in your pocket, play the game, and listen and talk to other people. But we don't know how that is yet because it hasn't released yet.
I'm still imagining it, but you're not. I find it hard to believe you're going to be sitting somewhere though to drain two different devices like that. Most people have a phone charger on though. So if you're in your car, you're charging it through a USB port or an old school lighter port if you have a car that does that. And I'm sure they make adapters for that for the Switch as well. Because
I have no doubt.
every console sits. So it's like, I mean, it's really going to be hard for you to sit here. I would not, it's like that Pokemon Go issue. If you're really going to sit there and so engrossed in your game and try to walk and cross traffic and all that, you're not going to be playing long before you got a bigger issue than the battery life on your Switch.
Oh yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna be
for
straight
sure.
with you.
So I
People
feel
can't
like,
juggle things.
yeah, I feel like it's a moot point in the long run because you're not going to be on the go that long where you aren't going to charge one of the two things.
Right.
I
Yeah,
can
that wasn't
understand
the
that.
point. That wasn't the point, really. That's why it's so universal. You know, it's something, and this is again something that I feel like Nintendo has listened to us about is giving us a console that we can do multiple things with. We can take it with us, and we can also play with it on the TV if we so choose. And so, yeah, there are a handful of different things that Nintendo does oddly to the average human, but overall, I feel like their good definitely outweighs the bad.
So, I want to bring this up. I think by far their Switch is their most successful console in like the past decade. Probably more so. Because you have those options. You can take them to go if you want to go to a friend's house, or you can play at home on your own TV. I can see why the app might work well with the Switch, just with that it is a mobile console. And I know for a fact that in Japan, where they do most of their testing for how these things are received by, fans, mobile games are their biggest seller. And it makes sense. If you always have your phone, why not use that for the speaker? I'm kind of in the middle area between you guys. I can see your point, and I can see Dan's point. I can see both the good and bad you're all both bringing to this. It's just kind of odd in certain spots. But overall, I do agree with Dan that the Switch and the phone app might work well together, depending on how they apply it.
This is why you suck as a D-class hero. I don't think-
You love me and you know it.
No. This is why I'm taking over the channel successfully.
I mean, fight me in Smash Bros. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, that's coming up soon. Coming up soon, and another thing that Nintendo listened to us about. Game-wise. I know
I know, Smash Bros. And we got Castlevania characters, which I'm super glad about.
I know. Oh man,
So-
I'm so excited for Simon.
It's gonna be so fun.
So
Yeah.
I will give this to Nintendo, is that they are evil in a good way, like in a D-class way, because in this console generation, so many people have complained about the number of quote-unquote HD ports from previous systems.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, what did I buy a new console for if all we're getting are ports from the previous console? Nintendo Switch comes out and they said, we got a whole freaking Wii U library that dude, so it's already programmed, dude. We can just boot that out there. And people, not one person has complained about it. They're all like, yeah, they had great games and nobody bought them. Now we can all get them. Like, well, they're all great games. How do you know? You must have bought them.
For the people that did have the Wii U, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I have a Wii U, but it kind of frustrates me. I bought it to where now they're porting 90% of what few games I bought for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't mind. I'd rather have them all on the Switch. I just think it's ironic that it's the one system that's doing all these ports, maybe arguably more than the PS4 or the Xbox One got, and nobody's complained. Everybody's excited for it. I'm like, they took an existing trend that people complained about, did the same thing, and they're getting celebrated for it.
So here's what I see. With Nintendo, I think the reason why that works out so well is because it's coming from the Nintendo Wii U. Because, unlike the Switch, the Wii U didn't get as much support as it should have.
Yep.
But that's their own stupid fault for
It
releasing
is.
it the way they did with the Wii.
But the thing is, the fact that they're bringing all those games over, and we're not getting support from fans, and people aren't buying it, bringing it onto the new console, which people are excited for, it would kind of increase the sales of those games.
And thank you, my minion in training.
What?
You just fueled me with another point. The
Dan, help me.
failure of the Wii.
I know where he's going with this, and I can't help you.
The failure of the Wii U and the backlash that even the Wii got is a direct result of them not listening. Because you had at the time the 360 and PS3 progressing technology and games. Nintendo said, we're not done with analog. We'll kind of technically call it digital or HD because we're in 480i, but we're not ready to leave this GameCube era yet. We were just now pushing the limits of our half in the middle ground technology here. So they stuck with that, and then they were like, people were like, yeah, no, because we want to play things like Call of Duty, and we want online, and we want our 720 and 1080 graphics, and Nintendo, and they kept saying, Nintendo, what is wrong with you? You could step up, do this, do that, and they didn't. And then when they finally listened, and they by a letter of the law, they gave us the Wii U. How late into the generation when the One and the PS4 was coming out, and they gave us a bare bones 1080 system, technology wise, not option wise or feature wise per se, but technology wise, like it still wasn't going to run at the same rate as a 360 or PS3. You've got a One and a PS4 coming.
Right, I see your point.
And it's like they don't listen, and when they do, it's almost kind of like they did it so late in the game to fail, just so they can go, see, we gave you what you want. You guys didn't help support it, so now we're going to go back to doing Nintendo just doing Nintendo.
I can kind of see how we're coming from with that.
See, Dan, I related that all in there, and you're just like mind blown.
No, yeah, I'm sitting here thinking about what I should say to that, but I have nothing.
I mean, it's a good argument, to be honest.
No, it is, and that's why I'm trying to kind of circle back into why I feel like Nintendo did what they did, per se. And yeah, though the Wii U was as terrible as it was, like, it still was pretty decent hardware, and it was pretty decent as far as like support, and even its what's the retro games that come out for the I can't even remember what it's called right now because it's been so long since we've seen it. But anyway, like they have really good retro game support, and I just feel like the Wii U was a good the Virtual Console, thank you. I don't know why that escaped me. But yeah, like, I think it was a good stepping stone into what the Switch is now. Though they weren't listening to us at that time, they did go through a lot of changes as far as, like, they lost their president, and now they have a new one.
That's true.
And so, that goes to show that one person can really ruin something. And with that said, now, I think, and that's why I'm so optimistic about the future of Nintendo and them actually starting to listen to what we're asking them, is because of those changes.
So, I will put this out there. I personally don't think Nintendo's going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
Like, they're going to be around forever.
Yeah, they cornered too many markets for them to go.
They really have, and they're the ones who pioneered gaming, to be honest.
Pioneered.
Pioneered. I mean, pioneered's the name
If
of
you
my
can
alter
give me
ego.
a legit definition, a Webster's definition for pioneered, I'll let it slide.
Pioneerd's my alter ego. He's the normal guy. When I'm not him, I'm Ash. But what I'm saying is, they pioneered the gaming industry by making like Mario, Legend of Zelda, all these great games that everyone can just kind of see an image, hear sounds, or think of a gameplay style, and they'll relate it straight to Nintendo.
Just because they pioneered it doesn't mean they're still good at it.
No, but like I said, they, like you said, I said, someone said, they pretty much have a lot of the market just covered. They started out with like toys, card games, and stuff.
Yeah.
Got into the digital video games when it was still very young. And Mario saved gaming, and from there it just blew up. Look how much gaming has changed in just the past 20 years.
Yes, and see how little Nintendo could be way more ahead of its time. There is another reason I say they don't listen is because Nintendo does these press releases before anything's done. This is what I don't get, and I'm gonna compare this to the launch of the Xbox One. This is a perfect example. Okay, Microsoft came out and said we're gonna do always online. We're gonna do DRM check. Basically, they designed a console that was completely anti-GameStop trade-ins, always online, and I mean, it was just nothing but a hindrance. People didn't like it. People completely just shut them down. PS4 got in there and made their jabs about trading game. I mean, and Xbox said, "Holy crap, we need to do something." That's an example of they listened and they fixed it. It is not those things. Nintendo announced a Switch. We're using cartridges that doesn't hold nearly as much as a Blu-ray disc.
Right.
We do not allow the support of any external hardware, hard drive devices or USB devices for games. We are limiting the amount of space. If you want to increase your space, you're going to spend a fortune just doing like a 200 gig SD card as opposed to spending a one-time fee for an 8 terabyte hard drive, external hard drive. And people said, this is ridiculous, you need to fix this. And Nintendo said, screw you guys, you're buying our system and you're buying our game, because we got Mario. What you gonna do?
Alright, so, in argument of that, I can see why they don't want the Tera drive or anything like that external for the Switch. Because it's meant to also be on-the-go gaming.
Yep.
But you can install, no different than Xbox, no different than PlayStation. You can have things installed on there and switch out your games if you wanted. You can have your main games that you play, and when you know you've reached your limit, you just transfer it over to an external. The reason, the whole point of an external is also to be portable to an extent.
So, the only way I can see that working for Nintendo's Nintendo Switch, I said Nintendo twice for some reason, but whatever, is that if the, what's it called? The,
Hard drive?
No. The thing you put it in if you want to play on
Docking
TV.
station?
Yeah, the docking station.
The dock, yeah.
Itself was another hard drive for you to actually plug in the TeraDrive to. If it did that way, that'd be amazing and really smart.
Well, it is. That's where you plug everything into. The HDMI cable, the USB for your controller, for one of your controllers if you wanted to.
Right. But I'm not seeing it like a normal console, though. I'm thinking of this thing as a handheld meant to be portable. That's how
Right.
I'm seeing this and arguing this.
Yeah.
But it's both.
I get that. But I'm saying if you went to TeraDrive, it didn't make pedal with just a docking station alone, it would work perfectly. Dan, what are your thoughts?
To be fair, they are working, quote unquote, air quotes here. They are working on a 2 terabyte micro chip to put in your Switch at some point. I have no idea when
very
they're going to
costly.
do this, but that it probably will be. Seeing as most 56 gigabyte chips are like what, 150 still or something like that, 120, maybe a little
I
cheaper.
know
than
I
that.
bought my my 2 TeraDrive was like 130 on Amazon.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I'm looking right now. A 256 gigabyte SD card is $119 right now on Amazon. I bought my external 8 terabyte drive for $124.
But that makes sense. Think about how small those micro SD cards are. And once they produce a 2 terabyte, like, who would have ever thought that could be possible
But
on
think of
something
what
that's
it's going to cost you. You're going to be pushing the price range of another Switch.
And that's the thing. That's the problem that I think they're going to face is if they end up pulling it off, how are they going to sell that? Because they would technically have to sell it with the system at that point, I think. And then say, here's a little bit of a deal. You're getting a 2 terabyte micro SD card with a Switch that'll cost you 300 or 400 bucks. And then everybody's like, oh, well, PS4 Pro is like 400. I would rather get that. So,
And I would agree with your point because, I mean, I look at, you know, these companies, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, they sell, quote unquote, first party or joint effort party memory extenders or what have you at USB, and they cost about 2 times or 2.5 times the price of one without their name on it, and that's
Mhm.
and that's ridiculous.
Yep.
A SanDisk with, I think last I looked, and I granted this has been a long time, SanDisk flash drive that had Nintendo's name on it. It was just outrageous, and it was like a 20 gig or something. It was so expensive compared to the few pennies it would take me to buy one by the same company, by SanDisk itself, without Nintendo, and it was more than double the price.
yeah, well,
So-
that's Nintendo for you.
Price? The general price, like in comparison to
I can't-
an
I
average
think,
one.
I mean,
Like if it's a 20 gig compared to like the Nintendo 20 gig, like give us a general idea of how much the price difference was.
I wish I could remember. It was like a long time ago. Let's put it this way. Well, a 32 gig is coming up as $8.99 without Nintendo's name on there.
So it'd be like double the price.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just see if it even comes up.
Mm,
No,
nope.
So they may not even do it anymore, for all I know.
So, do you guys know of the Japanese standalone Switch bundle that they released, I think, maybe a month or two ago?
Mm-mm.
The one for Monster Hunter Generations?
No, it was just they sold the Switch and the Joy-Cons by itself. No dock, no charger, nothing else was included, just the Switch. They sold in Japan only.
No, I did not know about that. That
I could see that happening though.
without a charger though, how do you charge?
Yeah, without a
Like,
charger too, which is insane. They said the reason they did it was because they want everybody in a household to have a Switch. So they had a standalone Switch with just the Joy-Cons to sell. And it was $250 without the dock and without a charger.
How can you sell that without the charger? That is the most important thing to me. How am I going to play this game? How's it going to be in every household if I can't charge the thing?
Because it became all about money. You have to buy. No, I will double check. I would have to double check, but I would be almost willing to bet that the charger is probably some kind of proprietary. It's not just USB, right? Is it? I don't know, because it goes into our docking station to charge it, so I don't know what the connections are.
It's only USB-C.
Okay, well then, yeah, so I guess you don't have to buy proprietary. But I don't know, maybe it's different over in Japan where they use a proprietary plug. I don't know, but...
The problem is, though, if you don't use a proper plug, a proper charging device for your Switch, you can fry it. Now, luckily, we have cloud saves, which is great and dandy, but that means if you fry your Switch, you have to buy another one.
You
So
only
it's
get
like-
cloud saves if you're willing to pay for their online subscription, and
that's-
you only get them for select games.
Exactly, and that's true. But it's
Which is
mainly
another reason
online, like actual online games, like Splatoon 2 is one big one that they pointed out, which I totally understand why. They don't want people cheating.
So
and using other
Splatoon
save
is one of
states.
my favorite Switch games right now. It's super fun.
It is.
Here's the thing. I think that's a total BS argument. I think they're trying to cut out... I should say it's total BS. I think it's lazy. It's
People
a lazy
cheat.
excuse. Yes, but... And I'm going to go back to the PS3 and the Xbox 360. At least for the 360, I can vouch. I didn't do online gaming with the PS3. The 360 allowed you to move and copy save files. You can play online any of the millions of Call of Duties, the Battlefields, and 50 million other games, and there wasn't really cheating. Did people sometimes hack their save files? Yes, but the servers were detected to detect a modified save file. Boom, they got banned. Done. And that was on that was on like EA or whatever the company of the game was. Like Microsoft didn't have to really monitor that unless they're popping achievements or something. And then that's a totally different thing because that's your profile. But so Nintendo to use that excuse like almost 3 generations later doesn't really fly with me.
We know how they are with their cheating and even trying to put homebrew stuff on your Switch and or 3DS. Like, people do it all the time, so I understand why Nintendo is the way they are, but...
You playing offline or a ROM version of Super Mario Brothers or whatever, I don't count that as cheating, and that really has nothing to do with cloud saves, because you can't upload your ROM save file. It's meant to be work only with your legitimate games, which it would know because you either installed it from the disk, which has to be in your system, or you digitally download it, in which there's a digital certification there that it sees.
I get that. But like really nowadays, just going back to the whole online thing, every online service we've seen thus far has been pay to use. One thing I've always seen Nintendo as, personally, was that family-friendly gaming company. Yeah, they do some weird stuff. Like, really weird stuff. But I always think of, like, friendly competition, couch co-op. That being the big one for me personally, because I played more couch co-op games for Nintendo than any other console ever.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That actually gets into another discussion Dan and I had about the family-friendly thing. That we totally, if I went off on that tangent. But I mean, I want to make one more quick comment about the online or the cloud saves. What annoys me also is that you have to pay for it. All the other systems do it free. regardless if you have your online subscription or not, the cloud save part of it's free.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest blunder in my opinion.
As far as family friendly, first off, I'm getting tired of companies catering to that crap. Because it's allowing more and more parents to basically neglect their kids and allow them to act the way they do. And people,
Yeah.
I just, like, little CD was not allowed to, when he first started playing online, he was not allowed to add friends. He was not allowed to just join party chats. Microsoft provides parental settings. I used them. It's up to the parents and the individuals to sit there and control their kids, not Nintendo. Now, yes, I understand they want a safe environment, and I'm not knocking the moral and ethical, the ground that they want to do, and I get the environment they want, and I'm fine. In a general sense, I'm okay with that, and I think it's cool that they want to promote family, friends, and a unified social structure. I'm not knocking that, but society needs to do their work with it too. It's not on Nintendo's hands to do that.
Which they never will, and see, that's the reason why Nintendo kind of has to do what they do with their parental guidance and the app that they have for that for your phone. And, like, a bunch of these games, though they may not cater to you and you feel like maybe they don't listen to you in terms of what games they bring, I feel like they bring a lot to the table that caters more to a wider audience than what PS4 and Xbox One does.
Yeah, I will agree with that. Overall, I always see Nintendo as that family-friendly thing. I get why you don't like that whole catering to it. I do think that regardless of what system, console, company, or whatever is using what, they should have the parental options there to learn what their kids are doing. Because, let's be honest, I deal with kids, you deal with kids, in just our regular jobs, deal with the public. And kids will act out and just throw tantrums to get what they want. And it shouldn't be that way. I also see little kids with, like, iPads, advanced phones, more advanced than mine. I have a Galaxy S7 Edge, and I have kids, like, 5 to 10 with, like, S9.
Yeah, right.
And that shouldn't be a thing.
No,
Yeah.
it shouldn't. But to be fair, I don't even think half the times you see the kids with the phone, it's actually theirs. The parents just hand them the phone and let them play their phone to let them play on it to shut them up.
And that shouldn't be a thing.
No, I totally agree. But
Because that's
a derailed discussion.
Yeah, that's going to be a different discussion for later. Dan, if you want to join on that one, we'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
This has been a lot of fun. There's a lot of good points, and this is obviously this was a good discussion / debate where neither person is even trying to win. It's just a matter of, well, I'm trying to beat Ash, but that's different. He's the quote unquote hero, I'm the villain, and I'm winning. But I mean, it's fun to just put all the sides out there.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Totally
like
agree.
to clear the air when it comes to these kind of subjects. Like, when you give everyone the knowledge and all the things that are being done, I want them to decide for themselves what they think is the better course of action to go with in these kind of situations. I think that Nintendo is kind of 50-50 when it comes to listening to fans. They do some weird things that just don't make sense to me. But then again, they could be their business practice, for all I know. But then they do things like Pokemon Go, which is something people ask for. And that's listening to fans. So it's really just kind of like a balancing act, in my eyes, of what they're doing.
Well,
So-
I agree.
Recommendations, though, then, like, what would you like Nintendo to do to help them listen more often than not?
So, me personally, and going back in the discussion earlier, definitely parental options for online play. That should be a requirement for all consoles, to be honest, in my opinion. Cloud save should be free because I don't feel like if you bought the game and need like a cloud save at all, you shouldn't have to pay for it. I mean, Apple does that. Their Apple Cloud charges you more if you need more space, and I've had a lot of people when I worked at AT&T complain about that.
Fair. Honestly, if Nintendo released a competitive, in technological point of view and execution, console to Microsoft and Sony, where I can not only play my Mario game, my Zelda game, but I could play my Injustice 2 or my Call of Duty or whatever, or Monster Hunter World, whatever. If I could play them all on the Nintendo with the Mario and I'd be able to have a smooth online experience, I arguably would. If Nintendo had maintained these type of things from day one, I don't think I ever would have stopped being a Nintendo fanboy, because it was with the Wii they finally started losing me, and then when I got a 360, that's when I started becoming the Xbox fanboy, and I love Xbox for their system. I mean, but if Nintendo went back to doing that, or had something comparable, I don't know if I would need the other consoles, because you could have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, to be fair though, for them, okay, so they haven't really received much AAA third-party support from anyone else besides Bethesda. Bethesda's really the only one that puts up Skyrim, Doom. I mean, you have those types of games on the Switch now, which can play perfectly fine. It's the other people, the other developers that have not decided to side with the Switch yet, and that's exactly why you aren't seeing that on the Switch.
But that's also because of their technology. They can't get... The Switch does not run the latest version of the game engines, so they have to go back and reprogram on an older engine, so you don't get quite all the same features. You certainly aren't going to get the same graphics. Ubisoft has been trying to work for Switch with Nintendo for I don't know how long now, just to try to get their game Steep to work, and they can't do it.
Yeah, which, although I think Resident Evil 7 has some sort of like cloud-based game that the Switch is able to play, which people didn't expect. But if that's the way games are going, you're going to be able to play everything on your Switch at some point if those games can go through that streaming service.
It really just comes down to the cloud save thing then. Three things I want. I want a competitive Legend of Zelda game. That sounds fun to me.
Yeah.
A
Royale Legend of
multiplayer
Zelda.
online Legend of Zelda game would be interesting. Like, you can play as like a Goron, a Zora.
So Hyrule Warriors would online.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
Hyrule
that'd be
Warriors
fun.
is pretty close.
Hyrule Warriors is probably the closest thing we have. And it's have to be so much, it's not actually part of the timeline. And I don't know, like, I have full faith in Nintendo. I do think they just are weird.
An achievement system would be nice.
Yes.
Do you really want that? Because I play Nintendo to relax. Because oftentimes when I play PlayStation, I'm going for trophies.
I feel like out of all the systems out there, Nintendo deserves it more, because let's be honest, and this is coming from an achievement whore now.
Oh, I know.
But I have certain limitations of what I'm willing to go through on Xbox, and I don't even bother with PlayStation as far as the trophies go. But Nintendo, I would argue, out of all gamers, Nintendo has the most hardcore, because there are things that people do in these Mario games and will go out of their way to try to do in Breath of the Wild. It's nuts, and I don't know any other game that gets that type of attention where people are trying to do these things so hardcore as with the Nintendo game. So if any game deserves to have an achievement or something tied to those type of accomplishments, that they deserve it, and those people should show something off like that.
And look at Steam. Steam has achievements too, and with how the Switch's library is as far as indie games are concerned, that's gonna make me want to play more indie games more often. And if I'd be honest, like, I'm just gonna want to play my Switch more, and that's what achievements will do, is push people to play their Switch more.
I can agree.
This goes back to our
I see that.
discussion with our did achievements ruin or help gaming?
Yeah.
Do check out that video. It's a fun discussion.
No, I just want to see a more competitive, in the traditional sense, console from Nintendo. If they could give me this, I can more or less have my cake and eat it too. I feel like they take a couple of small steps in the right directions, but I feel like the steps they take backwards are bigger than the progression. Because they take steps forward, but it's 2 generations too late.
I would argue this. They take 2 steps forward, step diagonally backwards, turn left, then step forward.
Okay, I didn't ask them to do the hokey pokey.
Like, it's just, a lot of things are just very odd. And I keep bringing that up throughout this entire discussion. It's just, what they do is very strange. They're trying to be innovative. And that can be really risky or high reward. And that all depends on how they apply themselves. Like Switch, high reward. Wii U and Wii, risk. But that's just my 2 cents.
I just feel like gamers have made a point of stating we don't want gimmicks. We don't want the type of innovation Nintendo it keeps trying to do. They have stated more than once, even with Xbox and Sony, with the PlayStation Move and the Xbox Kinect. They just want tradition. They want a controller in their hand, and they just want to play, and a headset to talk. They're happy with this. Now, I think VR is getting to the point where it will be advanced enough where it might actually be worth something and people will do it. I do think technology can advance and be innovative, but I feel like they're trying to do it too soon before the technology gets there. VR became a gimmick before it was really ready. The Kinect became a gimmick before it was really ready. The PlayStation Move was the Wii the way it should have been, but too late for anybody to care.
Yeah, no, I can agree. But the way I see it now, though, for Nintendo, is the only thing, or only way that they can go now, is up. With being able to improve the hardware at some point. I mean, look at the 3DS. The 3DS was a POS at the beginning of its lifetime. And look at the 3DS now. We have really, really awesome 3DSs, and I've traded in a couple of my 3DSs just to get the newer ones, and they've improved vastly on them. What that says for the Switch, in a couple of years we could see a Switch Pro that has all of that and more.
I wouldn't mind that.
No.
I primarily bought the 3DS because they promised Mega Man Legends 3. I hate you, Capcom. Stop hurting me.
Well, I think we should wrap this up. We've actually, this will be our first ever hour-long discussion, which is awesome.
It was fun.
It was.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, please, I want to note for everybody that none of us hate Nintendo.
No, we all have our different opinions and loves and hates.
We all own a Switch.
Yep.
So, I mean, if we hated Nintendo, we certainly wouldn't be supporting them. And like I said, I've owned every Nintendo console to date. So, plus a Nintendo Mini and a Super Nintendo Mini.
Nice.
I'm very proud of my Mini.
I
He likes
still have
small
yet to
things.
get one, but at some point I will.
Do it.
It's worth it, and it's worth it if you abuse it.
Okay. So, guys,
I just
final words regarding all this? Or final goodbyes?
well, go ahead, Dan. You're our guest.
I love Nintendo, and I am really excited for the future for Nintendo. I hope that with all of what we said, hopefully maybe people can reflect on this and see exactly what Nintendo is doing and maybe potentially have a voice about it, because the only way that Nintendo is going to find out and improve on their functions and what they do is by their fans, and their fans need to kind of do something about it and talk about it, much like we are. If we didn't care, we wouldn't talk about it, but because we care, we are talking about it. So that's kind of how I feel.
Nice. My final goodbye to this discussion is, I want everyone who is listening to this to open up a dialogue with a friend, a coworker, fellow gamer, Nintendo fan, whoever, and just talk about this. You know, just talk it out, have a discussion, debate. It's fun, and, you know, it provokes bigger thoughts regarding these kind of things. As Dan said, the more vocal we are, and not in, like, protest, the more likely Nintendo's gonna listen.
Take all my fun.
I know how you are. You start riots.
Yeah, I want everybody to call up Nintendo and voice your concern that Card Dreamer should be president of Nintendo.
I would vote for Dan.
Shut up, Robin.
I will take that on.
You were Robin of the
Guilty pleasure.
Alright, Dan, I'm gonna get your posters all made and posted everywhere.
Cool beans.
I would like to see Nintendo modernize a little more than they are, but otherwise, I agree with what Dan and Ash have said. Just keep continuing to discuss it. I feel like out of everything people rant, rave, and go ballistic towards on the internet, for the most part, people have talked about this, but they haven't been jerks or obnoxious about it, so which is a good thing. It seems like Nintendo always seems to get, even with their biggest backlash, there's an air of respect from the fans about it.
A more mature audience, definitely.
Yeah.
Which is ironic coming from the council. The company who promotes family and kids.
No.
Which is, I don't know. I don't know how to react to that, but you're right. But anyway, guys, I'm Ash.
I'm Card Dreamer.
I'm Dan.
And
we'll work on that.
we need to get Dan a really extravagant intro.
Really do.
But anyway, please check out Indie Drop when you guys get a chance. It's a fantastic channel. Dan's super cool.
He is. I have a lot of fun talking with him. Our next discussion will be about Labo. That did not come up in this, and I'm telling you, this is.
Oh, it's going to be a great one because he's got this whole rant prepared.
Telling you, we have inside scoop on how the creation of Labo got prioritized and created. Telling you, at least it's my interpretation thereof.
Anyway, please like, subscribe, comment below, and start a dialogue, guys. Talk. See ya.